everyone, welcome to Kids First. Today I have the pleasure to interview Matt Wolf, who directed this new film called Spaceship Earth. He actually was this film was nominated for Miami Film Festivals and also for Sundance Film Festivals. Hi Matt, welcome to Kids First.
Hi, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. This film is unbelievable. Honestly, if I heard this film, I'd probably think it was fictional, but the fact that this is real is just blowing my mind. So
I
what do you
know, crazy, right?
Yeah. What do you love the most about directing documentaries?
Well, I love forming relationships with real people. I mean, actors are real people too, but for me, it's more complicated and interesting to get to know people and to have a real relationship, but at the same time to step back and to tell their story. And I also like to make films that have a lot of archival footage in them. For me, the dream is to find a really interesting story with people who are around to tell it, and then to have a huge archive associated with it so that I can bring stories from the past to life. And Spaceship Earth was a kind of amazing, perfect trifecta of all those things. As you said, a crazy story, too crazy to be true, but it is. And then amazing people who I got to know, but also they filmed everything. So it was a really special opportunity to tell this story.
Was it hard to access any of the film, and what do you think was the biggest challenge while making this?
I think the biggest challenge is just how complex and epic the story is. There's so many different players and personalities involved. We wanted to make a film in which you can feel and get to know a cast of characters, and it covers 50 years. So it's a lot of material to mine through, both in terms of the archive, but just in terms of telling a story. So we had to find ways to make it accessible and to simplify it without losing the nuance.
Yeah, I've never directed anything or filmed any movie, but I'm sure it takes a lot of skill. So did you think you pushed your skill limit while making this film?
Totally. The film totally challenged me to use all the things I've learned while making other films, but to go into a different new part of my brain. The ideas are new ones than I've ever dealt with. I've never had so many characters in a film to grapple with, but it's always so fun. I really think of filmmaking as a kind of process of problem solving. And there were so many opportunities for me to collaborate with my editor, David Teague, and producer Stacey Reiss, and others to kind of unlock the huge puzzle that is Biosphere 2.
Yeah, and well, I remember in watching the film, it said that, well, the documentary, that this experience kind of changed the crew. Do you think this changed you as well, just as a person or a director?
That's a great question. Yeah, every time I make a film, it really changes who I am too, not only through the relationships with people and the collaborations, but also just really living in ideas that are true to that story. And this film really grapples with the idea of small groups. What if we bound together with a small group of people who had the same goals and aspirations of us and kind of combined all of our skills? I feel like we can accomplish amazing things. And that made me appreciate more what it's like to collaborate with people when I make a film, but also the small community that surrounds me and how we might band together, particularly during crazy times like this.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure in 1997 there was another thing called Spaceship Earth, if I'm not wrong. Did that inspire you, or did you know about that at all while making this?
I didn't. The title comes from a book from the 1960s that was about geodesic domes. Those were something that came about in the 60s, and the shape and style of them inspired Biosphere 2. But it was a real symbol for sustainability during the 1960s. But then Epcot, the kind of amusement park associated with Disney World, has a ride called Spaceship Earth. And it's also this big kind of cartoony geodesic dome in the middle. So I thought that title was good because it kind of combines earnest 60s theory with, kind of theme park cartoony stuff. And that's the spirit of the film and of the project.
Yeah, I've been to Epcot a couple times, and I've always seen that huge dome. Did that inspire you at all as well, or did anything, I'm sure you had to do research in order to conduct this amazing film, so.
Well, I took a pilgrimage to Epcot to go onto Spaceship Earth because the ride is being updated, and I wanted to see the original Spaceship Earth with all of its kind of animatronic vignettes about the future and progress. And it's pretty outdated, but it was really interesting. And there's even a photo of the inventors of Biosphere 2 visiting Epcot themselves in the film. So I took it upon myself to go visit the amusement park too.
And while you were making this, what did you want like young audiences to take away from this film? I was blown away by just how cool this was, but what did you really want to tell to younger generations?
Well, that we're all Biospherians, that, you know, right now we're living at home, just kind of like the Biospherians, we're stuck inside. But Biosphere 1, which they called the planet, is also a huge closed system. And everything we do in it has consequences. And if we're going to live forever into the future on our planet, we're going to have to change our behavior and really work together, probably in small groups, to figure out how to live sustainably. So I hope young people see a brighter future that involves really changing how they relate to the big biosphere of planet Earth.
Yeah, I love that so much. And the actual Biospherians, they're very cool people. Like it's a very interesting group of people. So did you learn anything from them?
Yeah, one of them, Linda Leigh, she took me through Biosphere 2, and she pointed at a huge tree that was scraping against the glass ceiling of Biosphere 2, and she said, I planted that tree from a seed. And she said, if everybody planted a tree from a seed and saw it mature, it would change their relationship to the world. And that really struck me. I've never done anything like that, but I think it would really make me pause or think twice before doing anything that could harm the biosphere if I had fully watched a tree grow up, just like a little kid, you know?
Yeah, and well, obviously we're facing this global pandemic. That's why we're on the computer right now. But did this affect your thoughts whenever you were going to release the film at all?
Yeah, you know, the distributor of the film intended to release it in movie theaters, but obviously people aren't going to theaters and it's not safe to do so anytime really soon. So we decided to release the film in an experimental way. It'll be available to stream like lots of movies, but different museums and organizations and small businesses, anything from a restaurant to the Smithsonian, Washington, D.C., are going to be able to host screenings of the film. And when people rent it, they'll be able to support those businesses and organizations. But I'll also be doing special talks and events online. So I like to be in a movie theater to connect with audiences and communities, but this is a different way to do it. And Biosphere 2 is an experiment, so releasing the film in this way is a worthwhile experiment too.
Yeah, I know I love going to movies and I miss it, but I'm sure anyone who watches this film will love it and it will probably bring the same effect to them. So when you were making this, what kind of sparked you, or like what sparked the idea of creating a movie like this?
I think I got inspired to create the movie when I realized that this wasn't just a short kind of 2-year project that happened in the desert in 1991 and that was the end of the story. It was a much bigger story. I like to tell big stories that deal with huge themes and that will be relevant and interesting in many years to come. But I like to get at those ideas through really specific and unusual kind of projects like Biosphere 2, or characters like the Synergists, the group that invented it. So I was inspired because I saw the potential to tell a really big story, and enough time had passed that we can really go into that story in a way that has more depth than it was treated when it was happening in the world.
Yeah, I really can't wrap my I can't wrap my mind around the fact that this actually happened. Like whenever you were filming, how did you feel? Like were you thinking, wow, like this is so cool that anything is possible, or what were your thoughts while actually creating the film?
It's funny that you say, is anything possible? Because the group who invented Biosphere 2 actually had a theater company called the Theater of All Possibilities. So that was
Yeah,
a big
right.
part of their philosophy, is this idea that no idea is too big, that no idea can't be realized. You know, once you think about building a self-enclosed world under glass that could live in Mars, then anything is possible. So I thought that would inspire people too.
Yeah, if you had to like go through something like this, or if you actually had to, like, how do you think you would survive? Because I don't know how I would.
It wouldn't be easy for me. I'm not one to do a lot of, you know, yard work and cooking, but you know what? I wouldn't have a choice, and I wouldn't feel comfortable letting everybody else take care of all the business. I would want to do my part. So I think when you have so much responsibility and you're with a group of people, it kind of raises the stakes for you to pitch in and to do your part. And again, that's kind of what we have to do in the real world. It's not somebody else who's going to solve our problems or protect the planet. Kind of all of our responsibility, and we're in it together, but it's easy to forget about that.
Thank you so much, Matt. It was such a pleasure talking to you. Once again, I'm Zoe Canella reporting for Kids First. Spaceship Earth will be launching everywhere on May 8th. I'm Zoe Canella reporting for Kids First. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and check out some of other Kids First reviewers and reporters on this channel. Bye!